take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
It's time!
It's Sunday, January 3rd, 2021. This is the Church of MMA podcast. My name is Tabor Cragen.
My name is Mason Knight. This is episode 53. We are going to be jumping into some MMA news on this podcast, and it will probably consume the entire half an hour, if not more. But Tabor, where do we begin?
With our social media accounts, Mason, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at the Church of MMA. Guys, if you aren't following us, make sure you go and do it. We are posting funny memes, clips of the show every day, all kinds of different stuff, news segments. Hit us up.
Yeah, check out our YouTube channel too, guys, if you're not already. We are so close to 400 subscribers. But yeah, we did grow. We took a week off of the podcast as most people did over the holiday break, you know, with New Year's and everything. But we are back in the studio, and I'm excited. I might be a little rusty because I haven't talked about MMA news in a week or so, but I'm excited to be here, man. I'm excited to jump back into this, and it's a shame, in a good way, obviously, but it's a shame that we still have to wait, 13 more days, 14 more days until the next fight, but I cannot wait.
I'm constantly counting down, just waiting and waiting and waiting, because Max Holloway, Kelvin Cater's so close. It's so close. It's so close. Okay, but before we get started with MMA news, Mason, we got to shout out our merch.
Oh, look at that.
Church merch.
That's a cool shirt, man.
Yep.
That's a cool shirt.
Yep. Church merch, guys. Teespring at the Church of MMA. Go get a sweater, a t-shirt, a face mask, anything. Buy for someone you love. The holidays are over, I know, but sometimes, you got to get gifts a little late. I'm one of those guys, I just run in there, buy a last second gift, and by last second, I mean 3 weeks late. Mm-hmm. And I still give it. Be that guy.
And too, if you guys buy some merch, we will be sure and throw that on our Instagram. We'll shout out a few of you guys as long as you guys give us permission to do so. But go check out our prices too, because we're not in it to try to make a bunch of money or anything. I mean, our shirts are like $15. You make a couple dollars profit, and that's just going to go right back to the studio. We'd like to do like a multi-camera show here and more improvements. So
Yeah, any money that we do get, it goes right into the show, trying to improve everything. So it is all much appreciated.
And we'll talk about more of our upcoming stuff for our show in our next episode. You want to tease that real quick?
Yeah, tease it. There is going to be 2 episodes this week, boys. A little callback to pre-Rona days. We used to do 2 episodes a day before that, and then it all went to shit with Rona, just like everything else in 2020. But we will talk about the year in general, and we will do our award show, Fighter of the Year, Fights of the Year, Loser of the Year, cool stuff. And, we're going to tease our newest award, the inaugural Who the Fuck is That Guy award. That was not the one that was supposed to be.
There it is. That's the little tease, folks. There is an award with that soundtrack, too, so be prepared.
I must not have put it on the board. I must have forgot.
I don't think you did.
Whatever, we'll get to that. But yeah, Who the Fuck is That Guy award? We will explain that more in the next episode, so stay tuned for that, guys. But I think it is MMA news time, Mason.
It is.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
So there was a whole lot of shit that happened. Like a ridiculous amount that happened this last week. I'm nervous. This is going to take a very long time. So let's start at the top.
Right. Let's do it.
I mean, this fight specifically, so much stuff has happened. But the last time we talked, Mason, we had no idea when this was going to happen. It did get announced, Leon Edwards versus Hamza Chimayov. Mm-hmm. It was going to be on January 20th. Unfortunately, it did fall out maybe a week after it was announced.
Yeah.
So some COVID-19 problems with Hamza. It was kind of a secret for a few days, but his managers come out and said that he's having some lung issues. He didn't really get specific, maybe breathing problems, but there's definitely something weird going on with Hamza Chimaev right now.
Yeah, I guess he's not up to 100%. He's still having breathing problems, and, they just don't want to risk it. I see from both sides here, I can understand Leon Edwards being very upset about this. This sucks. This sucks for Leon Edwards. I mean, we were joking about it in our last episode, at the end of the year that, finally he's going to get a big fight. Finally it's going to happen, because Leon Edwards was the first fighter to get his fight pulled because of coronavirus, and also seems to be the last guy, too, within the year 2020. So hopefully they're able to find that replacement. But you know what? Hamza Chimaev, here's the thing. If you don't know who that is, obviously you're living under a rock as far as MMA is concerned. This guy will fight anyone. He will fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Okay? So the fact that this guy is saying that he cannot fight because his lungs are not 100%, this is one of those guys that I 110% believe. And I would rather see a healed up Hamza Chimayov fight a savage like Leon Edwards than a guy who's not at his full capacity, taking this fight on short notice, for the COVID getting better or whatever, and then lose the fight and not have a good outing and be like, oh wow, this guy was overhyped. So all I'm trying to say here is it does suck for Leon Edwards, but I understand Chimayev's point, or opinion, here.
Yeah, it really does suck because Leon Edwards was the last guy to get COVID.
Yeah.
Chimaev had COVID like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago or something. So it is a little weird that this is showing up still. Makes me a little nervous because I had COVID myself. Yeah. Maybe in a month I'm going to have breathing problems again. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Hopefully not. No. And that's the thing. It affects everyone differently. But what I will say on Leon Edwards is they are trying. I don't know if they're actively trying at this point because what are we recording this on January 3rd? So we're 17 days away from January 20th. I do not know if they're going to be able to find a last-minute replacement for Leon Edwards.
That was my next thing. They already announced that, apparently. So they're not announcing a fight with Leon. They're just waiting for Hamza. So that is the fight they're going to still make. Right. They're just rescheduling it. They just don't know when to put it on because they have to wait for Hamza to come out and go, okay, I'm 100%.
Well, yeah, you got to wait for him to say he's 100% and then give him at least 4 weeks, bare minimum.
But he is one of these guys that he'll fight anybody on a week's notice. I mean, he did say that multiple times. So who knows? Maybe this fight is made the week after. I mean, there are a lot of main events that still need to be filled out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about some that are coming up later. I can't wait to get into those.
This list is wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But, to stick on Hamza, I mean, just how long do we have to wait for this fight? Is this going to turn into a Khabib versus Tony situation?
I don't think it will. I think given the circumstances and this whole, virus thing, I think as soon as you just said, as soon as Hamzat's healed up, ready to go, I think he's going to get in that octagon, and we're going to see this fight. I think the longest this will drag out is April.
Oh, okay.
And that's just my opinion, but I'm going to say April at the farthest.
So maybe 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm thinking late February, mid-March.
It's a decent time segment. Okay. So they did need new main events because that did fall out. So they upgraded the co-main. It's Chiesa and Magny now. And that was another fight that got announced. Hey. Very good fight.
That's a great fight, and we're starting to have this trend on this podcast where we are becoming matchmakers.
Yeah.
Before they're officially announced, you and I are sitting here and we're matchmaking all these fights that end up happening.
You hear her first, guys. You hear hers first. Yeah. Tomorrow's news today.
Yeah, exactly.
Only here on the Church of MMA.
Right, absolutely. I know because we had called a few, and we'll talk about the ones that we called later on. But I love this main event, and I think both fighters genuinely deserve this main event fight.
Yeah.
I really do. It was initially the co-main, rightfully so, but I am totally okay with this being upgraded to a main event. Neil Magny has looked phenomenal as of late. Michael Chiesa is a savage.
Absolute savage.
This is the fight that I would love to see 5 rounds, and we're going to get it 5 rounds now, right?
Yeah, it's going
to be a main event.
Main event, 5-round fight. I mean, if it's not, I'm going to be a little disappointed because that's a 5-round fight.
Yeah, but we did that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight, the last card of the year. We thought, that wasn't going to be 5 rounds. It ended up being 5 rounds. This has got to be 5 rounds.
It's got to be.
I think it definitely will.
And plus, you're several weeks out still. Yep. Why not? Give the boys a little bit bump in pay. They definitely deserve that. Neil Magny is just on a fucking resurgence right now.
Yes, he is.
And Chiesa's on a roll too. Chiesa has been waiting for a big fight. He's been calling out Neil Magny for a long time. But that was when Magny was unranked. Chiesa was unranked, trying to make his name at 170, came up from 155. I really like this matchup. It's a rough fight for Michael Chiesa, man. I'm not going to lie. I do not like that matchup. I think Neil Magny might be a top 5 welterweight at this moment right now. He is looking fucking amazing. His jiu-jitsu transitions are amazing. The way he strikes on the feet is just crisp and cleaner than ever. I don't know. I really think Chiesa's only chance is go to the ground in that fight. I can't wait for this fight. It's going to be a fantastic main event. And it's a main event on a Wednesday. They're going back to doing a Wednesday card, opening up Abu Dhabi.
I love it.
They're leading into that Conor McGregor card. Last year, they didn't. Remember, they started off the year with the pay-per-view.
Yep.
I like it this way. Give me 2 juicy fight cards to lead into that big pay-per-view of the year.
We're getting 3 fight cards in a 7-day period.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I love that stuff.
I love what Dana White is doing with the UFC right now. The more, the better. The fact that we're getting a Wednesday card, that's the greatest thing to me, dude. I get so stoked when you and I can come in this studio and we have just a plethora of things to talk about each and every week because the UFC is so incredibly active, especially in a time during a pandemic. We're able to go to Abu Dhabi and get 3 fight cards in a week. It is absolutely incredible. I love it. I love it, dude. And I'm hyped for this fight. This Neil Magny, Michael Chiesa, as you said, strategies we'll talk about later on as far as like who we're gonna pick for this fight. But
yeah.
Man, I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, real quick little shout out on that card is Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. That is going to be one hell of a fight. Possible co-main event for that card. You know, that is a fucking fight to asterisk right there on that card, guys. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic fight. But let's move into the card that is the week later. Or not the week later, sorry, 3 days later. I'm all fucked up with this. 3 days later, we finally have a co-main event for 247, Mason.
257.
Oh, 257, my bad. 257. Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler.
Which, I just talked about it earlier. We literally said Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker is what we want to see. We said that months ago, actually, on this podcast. And that is now confirmed for UFC 257. This is the fight to make, and this is the fight. Dude, Dan Hooker has had and yes, he lost a fight in 2020. But, dude, this guy had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
2020 year. I think this is the perfect matchup to see where Michael Chandler really fits in this division. He's a top 5 guy. He's an elite striker, an elite contender in this division. I am so incredibly excited about this fight as well. What are your thoughts on this?
5-round war. That's what it should be. I think it should be a main event. It's not going to be, obviously. It's on the pay-per-view. So it'll be 3 rounds. I wish it was 5 because it could have been 2 incredible 4th and 5th rounds. That's when Dan Hooker shines. He just fucking puts his heart all out there. Doesn't matter if he's tired. He's just going to swing. Dude, this is a crazy fight. I think this fight has finish written all over it. Mm-hmm. You know, if someone's either going to sleep or getting submitted in this fight, that's the only way I see it. I'm not going to say that Michael Chandler can't compete with Dan Hooker on the feet. He absolutely can. He is a fucking savage on the feet as well. But I do think he has a significant jiu-jitsu advantage. If it goes down to the ground, I'm going to give the significant advantage to fucking Chandler for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's I don't know how else to say it because he rolls with freaks, dude. When he rolls with Usman,
yeah,
it's just it looks like they shouldn't be able to compete because he's so much smaller, but it doesn't matter with him.
The thing is, you got to try to take Dan Hooker down,
which is
you got to keep him down.
Yeah,
I mean, and Dan, geez, he is no joke. So this is for UFC 257. The way I see this has got to be the co-main event for that Conor card.
Oh yeah, it's the only fight. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be that Justin Gaethje fight. It's kind of shocked me they didn't make that. Yeah, because they're really pushing Michael Chandler because if someone falls out on that Conor Poirier fight, they're putting Michael Chandler in there
unquestionably. Yeah, they're throwing him.
That's why he's on this card.
Yeah.
That's why they made. I mean, that's a main event. Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler should be a main event of a fight night. That should be 5 rounds. I'm going to scream that millions of times on this podcast.
No, and I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. What do you think the thought process is, though, behind Michael Chandler? Do you think Dana White just looks at Michael and has seen his work in the entirety of his career and just kind of trusts him? I mean, in a weird way, you can't really trust fighters. But do you think he looks at him and he goes, yeah, that guy's going to be a champ one day?
I think
because they are really promoting him in the UFC.
I think he's following the same model that he has followed with a few of these guys. I mean, Ben Askren, look, they threw him right to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler was number 6 or 5 in the world at the time.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
And then we got fucking, what's his name? I forget it every time. Eddie Alvarez. He got thrown right to Cowboy in his debut, lost that. So many guys come in and lose their debuts. Ben Askren didn't. This is not an example used, but a lot of guys lose their debuts and then can go on and become champions like Eddie Alvarez did. So I don't know. I kind of like that we're throwing him to the wolves. I didn't think he deserved the Justin Gaethje fight. We've talked about that many times. I am happy it is Dan Hooker, though, because I do think that's the perfect matchup.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for that. That card is looking pretty good. There's not too many other names on that card other than maybe this. That's pretty top heavy, I would say, with big names.
Yes,
going
absolutely.
down, it's maybe a little bit weaker. I mean, you got Amanda Ribas.
Dawodu and Shane Burgos.
That's going to be a great fight. Yeah, that'll be an absolutely great fight.
Dawodu and Shane Burgos. Especially after Burgos' last fight.
I mean, I would say, dude, bro, take a year off. Yeah, after that last fight, like Jesus Christ. Yeah. We'll talk about that fight in our next episode. I can't wait to get into that. But let's move on. So our next pay-per-view after this, UFC 258. I don't know if this got announced. I think it did. I don't know if it's official. There's some Usman and Burns is going to be on that card.
Yeah, I know you just jumped into the 258, but there's some really good fights for this 257 card. Jessica Ai and Joanne Calderwood.
Oh yeah, that's a good fight.
That's a great fight. Khalil Roundtree versus Marcin Prachino.
Who's that?
Prachinio?
I don't know who that. I know Roundtree, but I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah. Anyway, nonetheless, Brad Tavares is on this card as well. Carlos Jr., Matt Frivola versus Odaman Ozitair.
Okay, so it is actually a pretty stacked
Yeah, this
card.
is a pretty stacked card, dude.
Just unknown guys, really.
Yeah.
So not really big
Kind of the
names.
up and ups.
Yeah, exactly. When they love doing that on Connor cards.
Of
They
course.
always do that. I mean, that's why they're putting Amanda Rebus up there.
Yep.
You know, shout out to her. But yeah, let's move on to
All right, UFC
258.
258.
Usman and Burns, that did, I don't know if it got announced or not. I think it did. But I'm just happy that this fight did get announced because we were supposed to have it earlier this year. Last year. Didn't happen. We are getting it now. Has anything changed, in your opinion, with this fight over these last few months? I mean, do you think it's going to come out the same way, or do you think maybe things have changed because of all the Rona bullshit?
Here's how I feel with the Usman and Burns fight. Am I still excited to see the fight? Absolutely. Is Burns still the guy that I think should be fighting next for the belt? Absolutely. But here lies the problem. I got to be honest with how much is going on in the UFC right now, with obviously, you know, a lot of attention going back to Conor coming back. I feel like this fight has kind of gotten, I don't want to say swept under the rug, but kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like a little bit of the hype from this fight is gone. You know, and again, we talk about this all the time in the UFC and with the MMA community with recency bias, right? So like, you know, for example, if there's a fight of the year, you know, in February, which, you know, and then there's one in December, and then you're probably going to pick the December over February unless it's that much better. But so in this scenario for me, like with Usman and Burns, I just feel like, you know, again, some of the hype is gone.
I absolutely
I can't explain why. I can't explain why. Do I still want to see this fight? Is there any other person in this division that I want to see Usman fight? No, it's got to be Gilbert Burns. But I'm not as like hyped for it. And I think that has to do with, you know, again, this fight being delayed so many times.
And Usman's personality, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's building the fight at all.
No, he's not.
Well, I mean, can you blame him? Because supposedly they're best friends, training partners, blah, blah, blah. So, you know.
Yeah, and that sucks. That sucks for both of them. And I guess that's probably why, too, you know, knowing that as well. They do train together. I don't know, man. But I'm excited for UFC 258, though. I really am.
Yeah.
But as far as the card, I don't really know too much else, except I know Macy Barber's on that card fighting Alexa Grasso.
Yeah, I can't wait for that fight.
That'll
That's
be
going to be a great fight. That'll be a great fight.
fantastic
I mean,
fight.
here's the matchup I'm most excited for on this card. You're going to laugh at me. Uriah Hall and Chris Weidman. It's my favorite fight. It's my favorite fight on that card. Because whoever wins that fight is going to go on and get fucked up in a big fight. It's the perfect matchup, dude. This the only matchup to make for both of these men is each other, I think. It really is.
Yeah.
Because Uriah Hall is going to go in there and try to box Chris Weidman. They're both going to, you know, try to outmaneuver and outwork each other, and it's not going to be a very entertaining fight. No one's probably going to sleep. And, you know, it's a very winnable fight for both men. I really think if both men just go out there and try to pressure them, they could get a win very easily.
Yeah.
Who knows? This could be a Derek Lewis versus fucking Francis Ngannou situation. Hopefully it's not.
I just
really hope it's
don't
not.
understand how Chris Weidman is 11 in the world.
He shouldn't be. I don't think either of these men should be ranked right now.
That's something that just
They're big names. They're big
I don't
names in the
understand.
division.
And yeah, and I appreciate, you know, I feel like I always have to start with a caveat here. Obviously, Chris Weidman is a Hall of Famer. He beat one of the greatest strikers in the history of the sport, not once but twice. You know, he's done a lot in the sport, but again, it's like every time he fights, I'm just like, I just don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him get KO'd anymore. In his last fight, he did look impressive enough, but he was gassed.
Yeah, well, and Uriah Hall can definitely win this fight by KO.
And
He's
I
got
think
the skills. It's just whether or not he pulls a trigger.
As long as Chris Weidman doesn't take him down, because obviously that's where the advantage lies for Chris Weidman. But if this stays on the feet, I really see Uriah Hall catching him and putting him to sleep, man. And I don't mean to predict it right now, but I just don't see this going any other way. Unless Chris is able to take him down, Uriah Hall's going to win this fight.
Really? I think it's going to be boring. I think they're both going to dance around each other for 3 rounds, and I think it goes decision.
Well, it definitely could do that, too. I'm not putting it past either one of these two. Uriah Hall, for whatever reason, he is the star that never ignited. Like, I remember him in The Ultimate Fighter, that spinning heel kick. He KO'd the guy, and I thought we were just on a different world. This is the next Anderson Silva. But he has constantly been gun-shy, and I've never understood why he doesn't just trust his abilities. When he trusts his abilities, when he's on top of things, I don't think the man could be beat. But he beats himself, and he beats himself constantly because he's self-conscious or something in there. I don't understand it because I think he is so athletic. I think he has a lot of capabilities. But it's just when the moment's there. And, obviously you and I aren't fighters. We're just MMA fans. But, we do hear the whole thing in the gym with some of these guys. They're world beaters in the gym. But as soon as they get on that big stage, they don't perform the way they do in the gym. Some guys are just gym guys, who can beat the best in the world in the gym. But when they get put on that platform on that big day, they don't meet the mark.
Yeah, well, it almost seems like Uriah Hall specifically is treating his fights almost like sparring matches. That Anderson Silva fight was I was very unimpressed.
Yeah,
very, very unimpressed. I feel like he should have easily KO'd Anderson in multiple rounds. Could have easily got for the finish, just could not pull the trigger.
And in Uriah Hall's defense, okay, and I gotta put this out there.
It's Anderson Silva.
It's Anderson Silva, and it was also Uriah Hall's literal idol. Okay, he looked up to Anderson Silva. This was the guy that he fashioned his whole persona, his mixed martial arts background, everything based on Anderson Silva. Like this was this guy's everything. And you could see that after he beat Anderson Silva, just how much that meant to Uriah Hall. To the point even where he was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm the champion. I feel like I just beat the champion, right? Which is a crazy thing to say, but it meant a lot to Uriah Hall. And I think a lot of the times when guys fight legends or people that they look up to, they do not perform well.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's like
GSP Matt Hughes, man.
Yep.
There's
a lot of examples.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's move on to another great fight that is on 258, Mason. Kelvin Gaslum and Ian Heinisch. So I know you're not a big UFC podcast guy, or the official UFC podcast with Matt Serra and Jim Norton, but go onto their podcast page sometime and listen to these bonus episodes they've been put out with Megan O'Leary. I would describe them mainly as ESPN news segments. They almost feel like MSNBC, like very segmented, produced, scripted news segments. But they're doing it all about the UFC and some of these fighters and their life stories with backgrounds. And Megan O'Leary's voicing and narrating the whole thing. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. They did one about Rose Namajunas and Ian Heinisch.
That's funny.
And it was amazing.
I was thinking about doing something like that.
Really?
Yeah, just backgrounds and just really diving deep and learning everything I could about a fighter.
It's fantastic. Yeah. I don't like the scripted stuff. I'm not going to lie. It just doesn't feel natural to me.
Yeah.
But it just feels very corporate news-like, and I just have a disdain for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I like the more natural stuff, but it was very good. It was very entertaining. Ian Heinisch's backstory is fucking fantastic. Guys, go check that out. Megan O'Leary, Becoming a Fighter, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
They just dropped one on Rose Namajunas as well. Fantastic. They're about 30 to 45 minutes each. Very great show, but we got to talk about this fight. Kelvin Gaslum, Ian Heinisch. That's a fucking fantastic matchup, dude.
Absolutely.
Fantastic matchup. Kelvin Gaslum needs to get a comeback win, dude.
He does.
And it's a great guy to get it over with. He was recently ranked. Now he's unranked, Ian Heinisch. But you know what? This is a big fight for him because if he beats a Kelvin Gaslum, dude, he's right back in the mix and a top 5 contender. I mean, I wouldn't say top 5, top 10 now because Kelvin's on a little bit of a losing streak.
Yeah, he is. I think he's lost, 3 straight?
Yeah, but I mean, look at the way he lost his last fight. I mean, it's fucking rough, man. You get caught in a heel hook like that, it's rough. There's not much you could do. And
that was against Hermanson, am I right?
Yeah. And Vittori even went on Bisping's podcast not too long ago and was talking about that fight specifically and about how there was a few things Kelvin did wrong and how he's really been working on them because they're training partners and stuff like that. So I'm very interested in this Ian Heinisch matchup because Ian Heinisch, the way he mixes his wrestling with the fucking takedowns and the power shots, it's very reminiscent, I would say, of probably not as good as jiu-jitsu as of Matt Hughes, but I love his takedowns. There's very dangerous once he gets a man down to the ground. He's fucking can smash you, and he's very strong in this middleweight division, so This is a great matchup, man. I can't wait.
No, it definitely is a good matchup. And, you know, coming off that Gerald Meerschaert win as well, you know, because he was on a little bit of a skid himself.
Yeah, well, he lost to Omari Medov, I believe.
Yep. And Brunson.
That's right.
Derek Brunson.
Yeah. Brunson's making another little bit of a resurgence in his career.
Yes, he is. And we will talk about who he will be fighting as well very soon.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm excited for this too. You know, I really want to see Kelvin get back to the old Kelvin Gaslum.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that he's lost himself. He's still very young. I think he's still a top contender in this division. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Let's move on to UFC 259. We're just going down the list.
Yeah, we are.
Israel and Jan. It did get announced. That's going to be the main event. Whew, I can't wait. But before we talk about that, let's just talk about let's just run down the co-main event as well, because we got to give her some respect. Double champ. So it could be a double champ night. You know, we got.
It could
be a double champ night.
I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That'll be the name of our podcast that week. double champ. All right. But yeah, Amanda Nunez versus Megan Anderson. This is going to be a fantastic card right there. Fantastic card.
Yeah.
Just if it was just those two fights, I'm paying $65.
Well, how about the next fight? Yeah. How about all of them?
All of them.
I mean, all of these fights are insane. I think UFC 259 is the most stacked card so far.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. I'm serious. From top to bottom.
Yeah.
Let's go through these. Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. Are you kidding me?
Ridiculous.
Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober.
Ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like that matchup, to be honest. I mean, it's a great fight. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna be a fantastic fight. But I just don't like the matchup because I think both these guys, with the wins that they have put on recently, I think they deserve a little bit higher matchup than each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
I don't
that.
really like that in the lightweight division. We have fighters that are in the middle of the top 15, you know, maybe between top 6 and 10. They don't fight outside of that 6 to 10.
They don't.
They just fight each other. They don't fight top 15 guys. Top 15 guys are fighting each other 10 to 15. Fucking top 5 guys are fighting each other. It's very weird.
like
We're not getting
3
too
different
much
classes.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and it's so hard to move up. It takes years to get from a top 15 to a top 5.
Well, yeah, think about it. You got to take, you know, if you break them up into 3 different brackets, you got to win 2 fights just in one bracket to move to the next bracket. You lose one of those fights, you could very well drop down a whole bracket.
Or you wait for the perfect matchup that has to fall at your feet.
Yeah.
You have to wait for one of those guys to finally go, okay, fine, I'll fight a top 15 guy, which is what Charles Oliveira did with Kevin Lee.
Right.
And then he did it again.
Chimayov.
And then he did it again with Tony Ferguson.
Yep.
So it's difficult, man. It's
It is.
difficult
It's
to move up. I mean,
super
you
hard.
could be a top 15 guy in this lightweight division and fucking just have to fight unranked guys for 5 fights.
Yep.
It's happened. It's happened. It's crazy. It's so hard to move up in this division. So I don't like that matchup. It will be a fantastic fight, though. I do think they both deserve a bigger fight. Islam Makhachev could be a future champ, dude. He is Habib. I don't want to say he's Habib Light. But he kind of is, dude. He kind of is. He doesn't have as strong as wrestling as Habib, but it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And his jiu-jitsu is ridiculous as well. So very dominant Dagestani wrestler there. So I can't wait for that fight. But yeah, we talked about this fight earlier. Dominic Cruz and Casey Kenny. We talked about that in past episodes. Not the greatest matchup in the world. If you want to hear my take on that, you know, look a few episodes back, guys. Go back and listen.
Yeah, you know, it's not that that we feel like Dominic Cruz shouldn't fight anymore, because Dominic Cruz has got plenty left in the tank. And I thought that fight, his last fight, was called a bit prematurely against Cejudo. But it is strange. It is strange. You know, we'll graze over it a little bit here. It is strange that his next fight is Casey Kenny, just because Casey Kenny is, in no disrespect to Casey, he's a great fighter, but it's not as a well-known or prevalent fighter as a UFC Hall of Famer, former champion Dominic Cruz takes on. You know what I'm saying? Like, there would have been a lot of other matchups in this division I would have seen him take before Casey Kenny. But Dominic Cruz is also on a little bit of a skid, and he needs to get a W. And maybe he thought this was his best road.
That's my problem with it, is it seems like it's almost too obvious of a gimme fight.
Yeah.
Like, they're really trying to get Dominic Cruz an easy win.
They
I'm
need
not
to
going to
get him
say
a
an
win.
easy win, because Casey Kenny is not an easy win. This is the UFC. If you're in the UFC, you're a freak. Easy as that. Casey Kenny is an absolute savage, but I mean, there's levels of this game, and one man has proven to be top 5 in the world consistently over the last decade.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just different. I think Dominic Cruz really should have let a guy like Merab, get that chance.
That's what And they're 11 and 12 too. It would be perfect. Everyone, and I will say it time and time again on this podcast, there are two guys I absolutely love, okay? Aljamain Sterling and Merab. And yes, they just happen to be in the same camp, okay? But Merab is no joke, man, and no one wants to fight this guy. I sound like a broken record. Why is no one wanting to fight Merab? Why is it?
It's
Why
obvious.
is it that he can't find a fight?
It's obvious, bro. They don't want to get smashed. He's becoming like the Habib of this division, dude. He's just that good at wrestling. He's take you down and smash you. And if you get back up, he's going to take you down again. And you get back up, he's going to take you down again.
There was one fight, and I'm not over-exaggerating here. I think
14 or 15.
Yeah, 14 or 15 takedowns.
Broke the record for bantamweight division.
And folks, this is not 5 rounds. This is 3 rounds.
Yeah. Crazy.
To take someone down 15 times is really hard to do. And like, you have to be consistent at it. Like, I don't know. It's, for me, I whenever Merab gets brought up, it like triggers something in my head where I'm like,
because you know he's getting fucked. Well, he's getting fucked, man. He's only fighting unranked guys, and it sucks because then you see a Dominic Cruz fight a Casey Kenny, and you're like, that's just such a squandered opportunity, in my opinion. And I get it. You know, if Dominic Cruz fights Merab probably takes him down and smashes him for 3 rounds. I get that. You want to get Dominic Cruz a win, but I mean, he could get a win over top 10 guys.
He could.
That doesn't have to be Merab. Yeah. You know, I mean, Merab's a bad matchup. You could throw him up against someone else. Like, let's look at this rankings.
Marlon Moraes coming off that loss.
Yeah, or I mean,
Rafael Assunção, after getting knocked out by Cody Garbrandt.
Jose Aldo. You know, or Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, Rafael Assunção.
Those two are matched up now.
Yeah,
so
but any of them, you know, Cody Stamen, Song Yadong, even Marlon Vera coming off that Jose Aldo loss, like, there's just fights in the top 15 that I would have way rather seen. I get it. I really do. I get it. Yeah. I just hope this fight happens. Maybe it's a health issue because Dominic Cruz, I mean, other than his fight versus Henry Cejudo, that's his one fight in last 3 years?
Uh-huh. You know what fight would have been really fun? Just as a striking aspect with Dominic Cruz. And it fits right in that top 15, right? Song Yadong.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is a good enough matchup where I could see maybe Song Yadong winning that fight. Mm-hmm. But I think, obviously Dominic Cruz is the more advanced. But it's a very close matchup.
It's a challenging fight, yeah.
But it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be a fun matchup to watch. It would be a very fun matchup. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just going to keep on repeating ourselves. Yeah, it is what it is. I should have checked.
And then the last fight, you should have. And then UFC 259, Joey Benavidez versus Askar Askarov.
And then we got to go back to the top. We didn't even talk about those.
Oh, we didn't?
No, we didn't. We skimmed over those real quick. But it's okay. It's okay. This is a great fight, too. Joey Benavidez finally making his comeback. Yep. Everyone was wondering whether or not he was going to retire, make a comeback. I mean, his title days are done. Let's just be real. He's gotten the most title shots in the UFC to never win one, I think. So it sucks for my man. But, if he's going to go make that cheddar, 100% support that and think he should go make that cheddar as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And, he might be a future analyst one day. I mean, he's got the hookups. Megan O'Leary's a big name right now over there at the UFC.
Very big.
So it's very good connections, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But
now,
I'm excited for this fight.
Benavidez, does he speak Spanish?
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
perfect.
Then dude. Do you imagine how big that market is?
Yeah, it's because they already do every single card in Spanish. So if he adds into that analyst,
he could be a commentator in Espanol. I mean, that'd be
perfect.
That'd be the perfect place, And then obviously, if he does that, he can obviously work his way over to the desk. You know how Michael Bisping does it with Kamaru Usman and a bunch of different.
Mm-hmm. I think Ortega's done it before too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of people who just do it in and out with fighters, and I like that, dude. I like it. I like how they mix it up sometimes. They just throw a random fighter in there, see how they do. Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith turned out great. He's a fantastic.
I like him as a commentator too.
Yeah, he's a fantastic analyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, let's get back into the top because we did skim over that real quick.
Definitely.
So we got to start with Jan in Israel. This was the fight that everyone was kind of clamoring for. I mean, we were saying differently on the podcast. There was times I was saying, make the Jan fight. There was times I was saying, no, make the Robert Whittaker in the. I'm brain farting his name. It's so disrespectful.
Till?
No, light heavyweight. Number one contender, just beat something.
Oh, yeah,
Glover Teixeira. I can't believe I forgot his name. But, they passed over him. We had true number one contenders in both divisions. They went with this fight. A little bit strange. Yeah. But I get it. This is going to be a big money fight. And they're putting it on the most ridiculous card, so.
I'll give you my take on this. I'm a little disappointed. Am I going to tune into this fight? Absolutely. Why would I not? But I'm a little disappointed for Glover Teixeira. I thought he was next in line. And I also think it's a little weird that Jan Blachowicz has not even defended his light heavyweight belt, yet he is fighting in a super fight against Israel Adesanya. To me, that makes no sense. I think the only fair thing to do is to have the Glover Teixeira fight, Jan Blachowicz, for the light heavyweight belt. If Jan goes out there and starches him and KOs him in the first round, you are set up perfectly for this Israel Adesanya fight. And yes, Izzy is a huge name. He is a superstar in this sport. I am not denying that, right? But I think if you put a little bit more behind Jan Blachowicz, if he were to go out there, you know, because you can just show highlight reels over and over about Glover Teixeira and how he's just domination, you know, and they do this montage of him just dominating the elite contenders in that division. And then Jan goes out there and KOs him in the first round, which he could definitely do. You have that super fight set up so well. You have the cut twos, man. You have promotion for it. But I don't really see the promotion behind this fight. I don't see the hype as much. And I just find it really weird that Jan has not even defended his belt and he gets this fight. I just think it's wrong.
Well, I think it has more to do with the UFC head offices. I think it has more to do with Dana White, Mick Maynard, and all them, because I think they're really clamoring for that John Jones Israel fight. And that might be the only way to keep John Jones from heavyweight for another 6 months. You know what I'm saying? But
that's kind of where I don't understand, because I don't really know what's going on about I don't know where John Jones is. I've heard reports that he's 245 pounds and that he's lifting, trying to bulk up to heavyweight. But then, you know, John Jones will go out there and tweet and be like, oh yeah, you guys say I was scared. I'm not scared of this shit, right? Of like the light heavyweights. So I don't know where it stands. And do you really think John Jones would drop down immediately to fight Israel Adesanya? And do you think Israel Adesanya could actually defend both belts?
Well, it just depends on what's going on with his heavyweight situation. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But it really depends, because everyone's waiting right now. And remember, Dana White came out and said that Robert Whittaker was saying that he didn't want the fight, and it turned out not to be true. But I mean, there's a reason why they're saying this. They just didn't want to make that Israel and Robert Whittaker fight, and that's the only fight for Israel right now. Israel kind of cleaned out the entire middleweight division without cleaning out the entire middleweight division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In a sense, yeah.
You know, I mean, because he beat the guys that did. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what else is there really for him at 185 other than the Robert Whittaker rematch?
Yeah, that was what made the most sense to me. I mean, come on, dude. Robert Whittaker was a dominant champ. Like, we can't take that away from him. And he had some wars. He had some great fights. You know, he fell short against Izzy. He had an off night. Yeah. But then he comes back and he has two really
I wouldn't just say he had an off night. I would say, dude, he got dominated because Israel was in the Matrix. But that's having an off night. Like, is it though, or is that just fucking Israel's that good? Because I think Israel is that good. Which is why I kind of understand why they don't want to go with the rematch, because it could just happen all over again.
It could potentially, but I mean, you're talking about Robert Whittaker. Like,
he deserves respect.
He does. He's had phenomenal fights, and like the guy doesn't just not show up. You know, he did against Izzy, but that's one fight. Like, we can't. It's funny that we do this in our brains where we'll look at 9 really amazing fights and then we'll take one. Prime example: Israel Adesanya, Yoel Romero. How much shit did Izzy get after that?
A lot.
A lot of shit.
That was one of the worst fights of the year. That's why we should add that.
And absolutely, it was an awful fight. But look at everything Israel Adesanya has done in his career. You can't judge the man off one fight. So if we're using that mindset, we cannot judge Robert Whittaker off one fight. It's unfair. It's unfair, especially after how dominant he's been in his last 2 fights. We can't just sit there and say, oh, that shit would happen exactly the same way again. Yeah. I just don't buy it. I don't believe it. Robert Whittaker has been in wars, you know?
Yeah.
Could Izzy go out there and beat Robert Whittaker again? Absolutely. He's done it once. He could do it twice.
Yeah, well, he literally KO'd him twice in one fight.
But I do, now that I'm thinking about it, I do kind of understand the risk reward factor with the UFC. I get why they're doing this fight right away, because if Izzy hypothetically were to lose that fight, they would have to set up that trilogy, and then Izzy's not going up to light heavyweight for another year. I mean, at least if you're going to do a trilogy fight, 2 fights, if Robert were to win that fight, I don't know, man. I think this is a little premature, but am I mad about it? I would say I'm only mad for Glover Teixeira because I'm a big fan of him. Even though I counted him out all year in every fight I picked against him, and he went out there and proved me wrong, and it just proved me wrong, dominated every single fight. So I'm a little bummed for him, but I'm stoked for this fight.
Yeah, they must be thinking this fight sells more too.
Yeah,
I mean, because they say Glover beats Jan, say that, and then they make the Izzy Glover fight. Like, maybe it doesn't sell as much as Jan because it's a striking matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fight that I really am excited for. I mean, yeah, we're shitting on it right now, but I really am excited for this young
so
fight.
am I.
Not a lot of people. I guess it just depends on where you're listening. I'm sure everyone in fucking Europe right now is going, Jan's going to knock Izzy the fuck out. It's going to be funny. He's just a little tiny guy. I mean, not a lot of people are giving Jan, stateside and, Aussie side, are giving Jan a chance in that fight.
Right.
It could go very differently. We've seen Izzy get KO'd by power punchers before, and this is a very dangerous fight for Israel, dude.
Absolutely.
This is a very dangerous fight. This is, remember the Yoel fight? Because that was, at any moment, it felt like Yoel could KO Izzy with one shot.
For sure.
So this is the Yoel fight all over again. I wouldn't be shocked if it was boring, but I think this could be a fucking 5-round war. If it is a 5-round war, if it's a 5-round firefight, like the Kelvin Gaslum fight, bro, I might take Jan.
Yeah.
I might fucking take Jan. If he gets in a 5-round war with Jan, it's going to be deadly.
Yeah, it should be an interesting fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're good on that one. You want to talk about Amanda Nunez, Megan Anderson?
Yeah.
Megan Anderson, just a little bit. Megan Anderson's been running her mouth a little bit on Twitter. You've been seeing that?
Oh, really? Well, no. What's she saying?
I mean, she's respectful, but she's like, oh, it's just funny that Amanda Nunez can try to get a fight with Logan Paul, but doesn't want to fight me or Jake Paul, whatever one it was, the brothers, one of them.
I gotta be respectful. I was about to be like, man, she'll knock you both out in the same fucking night. And I was gonna say it. She will knock you both out in the same night. I'm sorry, Amanda Nunez is just that good. Bro, I don't give Megan any chance in that fight.
That's not okay. Let's go back to the Paul thing. That's like not even us being funny.
I'm dead ass serious.
No, like I'm dead ass serious. If Amanda Nunez versus Jake Paul, Amanda Nunez will KO Jake Paul.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
That's not even a
Boxing
joke,
match,
dude.
MMA fight, doesn't
That's
matter.
not even a joke.
Street fight.
So yeah. Oh, street fight, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu match, she's gonna break his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's ridiculous. But Megan Anderson, she's just. I think, and I've said this before, because I don't want to be disrespectful to Megan, because I think she is a phenomenal fighter. She's long, she's lengthy, but, I think she would be a champ in any other era. And I really do believe that. I really do. But it's Amanda Nunez. At the end of the day, it's kind of like fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Amanda Nunez is not going to be beaten. She will cash in those paychecks, and she will remain champ until she decides to retire. Absolutely.
And if someone beats her, unfortunately, you're going to have to do it twice in a row. It's the only way you're going to be considered a legitimate champ. You have to beat her twice in a row. It's like Khabib. At this point, absolutely. And no one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. Maybe Valentina. Maybe if they ever make that fight, they'll never make that fight again. Yeah, but I wish they would. We were talking about that fight quite a bit this last year. Actually, it never came true. Fight to happen. Yeah, we all do. Yeah. We all do. I mean, even though Amanda won twice, it doesn't matter. I think eventually it's going to be the only fight to make. I think if you promote it right and you go, oh, there was controversy surrounding the second fight, because that second fight was really close. Yeah. So you could sell it with that controversy, and it's been a few years now. Who knows? Who knows? But, I think Megan Anderson's obviously a top contender in this division, but I think this ends the same way it's ended for everyone else. Yeah. You're either going to get dominated for 5 rounds or it's going to be a quick night for you. But there's no in between. Yeah, I guess I should take that back. I'm not going to say Megan Anderson has absolutely zero chance. Every
MMA. Fighter's got a chance.
Absolutely. And she's a big girl. She ain't cutting down to 135 ever. It hurts her getting to 145. If there was a 155-pound division, she'd probably like that. Come on, man. We've been shocked before. Yeah. I guarantee these exact words verbatim were used for Holly Holm when she fought Ronda Rousey. Absolutely, dude. So I mean, it happens. And that one should have been more obvious for everybody. Right. Ronda Rousey was held up on this fucking pedestal like she was God walking on earth. She really wasn't. When in terms of striking, it's just in terms of striking, but in terms of her judo throws, her judo and her jiu-jitsu, yes, it was that good. But I mean, it was just good enough to be the most dominant woman of that era, right, exactly. Which was the earliest era of women's fighting, which was the lowest point at skill. But I mean, it is evolved so much at this point, which is kudos to Amanda Nunez for staying and evolving with the sport for as long as she has, and to be as good as she is. Everyone should. I mean, think about the Amanda Nunez Ronda Rousey fight. When they made that, when Ronda Rousey made her comeback, the whole talking point was Ronda Rousey's getting her belt back. Amanda Nunez has no fucking chance. And it's like, are you guys stupid? Are you not watching anything? I remember going through that whole thing being incredibly pissed off about the whole way they handled that. It was Ronda. I didn't hear a single thing about Amanda Nunez, and I'm like, hello? Yeah. Hello? McFly, is anyone home?
Amanda Nunez. This isn't going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
She's going to get dominated. I don't get it. I don't understand. And then sure enough, truth be told, Amanda went out there and just fucking starched her.
I wish I had money when that fight happened because, dude, I would have bet the fucking house on Amanda.
For sure.
And it would have been the craziest line. I'm sure someone made so much money that night.
I would have loved. I wish that we could go back and see what the line would have been. Because I guarantee Amanda was like a plus 300.
Bro, I'm
you
sure
would have got 3-1 on that.
Thinking back on it,
bro,
damn.
I picked Amanda Nunez. I was in Vegas. I put 100 bones down on her she was a plus 200 underdog against Chris Cyborg. She goes out there and KOs. I was like, yeah.
That was one of the craziest. That was one of my favorite KOs.
I was literally jumping up and down in the bar because the bar was so packed in Vegas pre-COVID. But a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So that was the last pay-per-view. I mean, they haven't announced much more for 260. We will learn more about that in the future. So let's move on to some main events of some fight nights that did get announced, kind of, sort of. Some of them are like rumors, but I mean, it's essentially that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll talk rumors.
Yeah. So main event of February 6th, UFC Fight Night. I believe this is in the first week of the UFC Apex. So a week after the Conor McGregor fight. Overran versus Volkov. Pretty interesting main event, in my opinion. Two absolute savage technical strikers going in. But Overeem, as technical striker as he is, he's been taking people down to the ground and dominating them. That's probably what he's going to try and do here against Volkov as well, I would assume, because it has been his route to success in his last few fights. It's an interesting matchup. If Volkov keeps it on the feet, man, it could be bad for Overeem. It really could be, because Volkov's a motherfucker.
Yeah, it definitely could be. His last win was against Walt Harris.
Yeah,
Volkov.
Yep, and he outclassed him there for a little bit.
Yeah, before that he lost to Curtis Blades, so he's on a 1-1 right now, and then he beat Greg Hardy. I remember that fight last year. But man, I got to tell you, I think Overeem is on one last run for that belt, that gold belt.
Well, if he beats a Volkov, it's absolutely this is it. This is the run, man.
It has to be the run.
And he's gonna need a big matchup, a big matchup. I'm talking Curtis Blades rematch, something like that.
Yeah,
and that would be
a fight that he deserves. Alistair Overeem. Absolutely. Especially coming back from that Francis Ngannou KO. And to see what Overeem has done since then. And if he were to go out there and beat a Volkov, a skilled veteran in the sport, I mean, obviously Overeem's a veteran too. You got to give this guy one more shot at the belt. You have to. And I'm not saying right away. He might have to take one more after that. But you got to give him a top contender, a one-off for the belt, right? Like a number one contender. I think that's the fair thing to do.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it'll be, a 4-5 winning streak?
Yeah.
By then? Yeah. All right, next main event we'll talk about. There is a fight night that hasn't been announced in between these two. That's probably going to be maybe a Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. There's no talk about that fight, so we're not even going to mention it.
Should we
anymore.
Hypothetically talk about it?
I mean, that would be an amazing main event. Right,
I've heard that they're trying to get that done. Now, these are all rumors,
for a fight night,
speculative.
I mean, it has to be 5 rounds, right?
It would have to be 5 rounds.
I would say that's a pay-per-view, but I mean, are they going to make that a pay-per-view? If you're going to make Conor,
it's for the BMF belt, yeah, you make that a pay-per-view.
So then that's maybe 260 or something like that.
Yeah. If that's for the BMF belt, that is an absolute pay-per-view. It has to be. You have the shit talker Colby Covington against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, Street Jesus. I mean, that fight is going to sell huge pay-per-view numbers. Yeah, huge.
Well, what I would hate is that they do a co-main, because this fight has to be 5 rounds, dude. It has to be.
Yeah, no. This fight absolutely has to be. And if it's for the BMF belt, they've got to do 5 rounds. You don't do 3 rounds for a belt. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's dumb. This is going to main event somewhere, for sure, when it does happen. UFC 260, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be
That'd be real nice.
Yeah, but let's talk about this fight that did get announced. Dominic Reyes versus Jiri Prachazda is the main event of February 27th.
That is a fucking rough fight coming off that loss to
Jan, and pretty soon, because that was a pretty vicious knockout. It's pretty vicious. Jan has that Polish power.
Jiri Prachazda, dude, this guy has got power. He is scary. He's unorthodox. He's a wild man. And when he hits you, you know it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just go to sleep. But I mean, if you're still conscious, you will feel it.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. I'm kind of glad this Prachazda guy didn't just take another matchup right off the bat, because, dude, he's looking like a top 5 guy right away. I mean, former world champion at Ryzen, I believe, coming in his first fight, had Volkan Ozdemir. Yeah. And I remember going, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I don't even know what the fuck is this guy doing fighting Volkan Ozdemir? And then he KOs him viciously in the first round. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So I love this matchup. They're really pushing this guy. Possible title shot with a win. I mean, fuck. You have to, right?
Yeah, you do.
I mean,
absolutely
Dominic Reyes is the last guy to fight for the world title. Everyone thought he beat John Jones.
After Glover.
Yeah.
After Glover.
Yeah,
Glover
agreed.
gets the shot, but then, yeah, absolutely. You know what else, too? I wouldn't mind seeing the winner of Dominic Reyes versus Jiri Prachazda
Versus Glover.
versus the winner of Thiago Santos, Alexander Rakic.
Ooh,
I'd like to see that. That'd be like a mini tournament for the next guy after Glover. Because Glover, I don't care.
He doesn't need another fight.
No, he doesn't need
he's
another
getting a title shot.
He gets the next title shot. He deserves the next title shot.
Yeah.
And dude, come on. This guy's at the tail end of his career. Just give him that last shot. Let him ride off into the sunset, if he does win. And if he loses on his shield,
Yeah.
But we got to give this guy an opportunity because he freaking deserves it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on to Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland for March 20th. It's not the matchup I was calling for 100%, but I think it's a great matchup. It really is. I do think with a win, I guess this matchup is a little disrespectful to not Kevin Holland, but Jacare Souza, in my opinion, because they're treating Jacare like some unranked schlum. He is not some unranked schlum in this 185-pound division. He is a top 10 guy. I'll say that. Probably not top 5, maybe 6, 7, 8
top
around
10
there.
is fair.
He's top 10 guy for sure. He should have been ranked in that last fight. I don't think. What is Derek Brunson right now? He's got
7.
Okay. Okay, that's not bad,
It's
I guess.
not bad.
That's really
Yeah,
not
yeah.
bad for Kevin
I know,
Holland.
but
And it's a great matchup. It's a very
It
winnable
is.
fight for him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is. And, they have had some beef, because I guess Derek Brunson wanted to train with him about a year or so ago. And Kevin Holland says, hey, this guy just always talking, yada, yada, yada. And they were chirping back and forth. So I like this fight, man. I'm excited for it because I'm telling you right now, if Kevin Holland can go out there March 20th and get a win over number 7 ranked Derek Brunson, the sky is the limit for this kid, man. I'm telling you. We're Kevin Holland dick riders, dude. We're huge Kevin Holland fans on this podcast. But dude, if he gets a win over Derek Brunson,
I just realized he's 10.
who is?
Kevin. Damn.
Yeah, Kevin Holland's 10.
Okay, I shouldn't shit on this matchup then. It's actually a pretty good
Yeah,
matchup.
this is actually a good matchup.
Because think about it with the division in mind. The rumor is Paulo Costa, Robert Whitaker's in the making. I hate that fight. Fucking hate it. It's terrible. Marvin Vettori, Darren Till. So that really above that. That leaves Jared Cannonier.
Yep.
Or fucking Jack Hermanson.
Jack Hermanson coming off that loss.
Derek Brunson's probably the perfect matchup.
It is. I think for Kevin Holland right now, it definitely is. And if he were to go out there and get a win over Derek Brunson, what he's got to take on the winner of one of these two matchups, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if he beats a Derek Brunson, dude, I'm clamoring for, depends on what's going on with this 185-pound division. Maybe Israel loses and then he defends his belt again. Or maybe he wins and then John Jones. They're going to have to do an interim. It really depends. We will have to see how 2021 plays out.
I'm really liking the way this middleweight division is shaping up, though.
I do too, because it's making the top 5 fight each other to get that chance, which is the way it should be. Really.
Should be, yeah.
It's understandable.
Well,
I do think it's a great
We're going to
fight.
get some new blood into the middleweight division for Israel Adesanya to defend. You're talking about a few guys now that Israel Adesanya has not fought. He has not. At least for the belt, I should preference that. At least as a champion, he has not fought these fighters. Darren Till, Marvin Vettori, and Kevin Holland potentially.
Yeah, and Derek Brunson will be a great measuring stick for Kevin Holland because he did fight Israel and Derek did,
and he
Israel
did fight Anderson Silva as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you know what? It's a great measuring stick to see exactly where Kevin Holland is in this top 5.
For sure.
All right. So, we're probably going to keep this quick. We had that Stipe Francis debate. You go check it out on our YouTube channel, guys.
Absolutely.
A 9-minute long debate about what the fuck's going on in that situation. But, we still have no word on that fight and Jan versus Sterling. I did think that the March card, which is this Jan and Israel card, I did think that was going to be the Stipe card. It ended up not being. Maybe we got April. But, we just said there's a lot of main events that need to be made. If Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal is going to be on a pay-per-view, that's going to eat up a slot. There's only 12 pay-per-views in a year. We might be waiting another 5 months, bro.
Here's the thing, though. With Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, you could definitely do that as a main event fight
night, yeah.
And then just promote the shit out of it.
Put it on
BMF
ESPN.
belt. Yeah, exactly.
Regular ESPN on TV.
You're going to get millions of people tuning into that.
Yeah.
So with this whole Stipe Francis situation, and you guys have heard my opinion on this, and I am just going to give another 10-minute rant on it. No, I'm just joking. Okay.
Well, let's talk more about Jan and Sterling then, because we haven't talked about that fight. What was it do you remember what it was that Jan had to pull out for?
Remember, it was for undisclosed reasons.
And I think he talked about it, or so his manager did a little bit. I just can't remember. I think it was something his family
something about
died.
family or something.
I think a family member died, unfortunately. So if that's true, only the best wishes to him and his family. But
absolutely,
I mean, that fight needs to happen at some point. It was going to happen this December.
It needs to happen no later than April.
I think so as well. It has to be on that card, right? It has to be. So I mean, maybe you do Francis, Stipe, and then throw Jan and Sterling underneath as co-main. Because unfortunately for Jan and Sterling, I don't think there is big enough household names right now to maybe main event a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Hopefully, they get enough eyeballs on this next fight that maybe, if Aljamain Sterling gets a win, his next fight will be a main event of a pay-per-view. We will see. 135-pound has so many stars in it.
Oh, it does.
You put an Aljamain Sterling versus a TJ Dillashaw for a title fight, that's a main event right there.
Yeah, and that's going to sell huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. TJ's a big star, and he's making his comeback.
Star.
So, there was that. Let's round this episode of MMA News off with this last little bit of news, which really didn't shock me. It shocked me where he landed, but Anthony Pettis was released from the UFC, and everyone was speculating, he's going to go to Bellator. He's going to go be with his brother. Him and Scott Coker are going to have a great relationship. They're going to be in a fantastic team. They're going to promote Pettis. He's going to fight for the world title, goes and signs with PFL. Honestly, it might be a pretty smart decision in the end of the day, because I think with Bellator, you don't get an $1 million paycheck. You do with the PFL if you win that belt, baby. You're getting $1 million at the end of the year, no matter what, and you're still getting paid for every fight. It is a little weird with the point system and the season system, but I mean, if you can get behind that, I mean, shit, you lose a fight, you could fucking win your next 3 fights and still fight for the world title. I mean, it's not just a straight up tournament. It's a little bit different. It's interesting in the PFL. I have not watched a lot of it, so I don't know how this works, but one big gripe with the PFL I have, even though they are on ESPN now, which is big for they've been on ESPN Plus and ESPN. I think they fight on Thursday nights.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm
so
gonna start tuning into
so
that.
They don't. Yeah, it's either Thursday or Friday nights. They don't compete with the UFC anymore. Neither does Bellator. Bellator is also doing Friday night fights. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I really like that actually because they're not competing with each other. Yep. But keep it on the PFL. Their biggest gripe is they don't have star power. Mm-hmm. None at all. No. Anthony Pettis gives them that. I mean, they have, who's their female 155-pounder? Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison, I mean, other than her, that's it. Yeah. They had nobody at PFL. I mean, once the World Series of Fighting ended and they got rid of Justin Gaethje and them, they had nobody. So it's a big ups for them to get a big name like Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, as far as my opinion, I think it was the right move for Anthony Pettis. He didn't look bad in his last fight, and it was at welterweight. I remember him talking about how he wanted to go back down to lightweight and win the belt. And no disrespect to Anthony. I mean, he's had some phenomenal fights, some historic knockouts. Ben Henderson is the first one to come to mind. So the man is a Hall of Famer in the UFC, but I do think it was the right time for him to move on. I think the competition right now is just too steep in the lightweight division for him to really do what he wanted to do to work his way up. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it would at least take him 3 years to work up to a lightweight belt, and he would have to win every single fight and fight 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah. Yeah, so take 3 unranked fights just to get to a fucking top 15.
And I think he is skilled enough, and I do think he's got enough in the gas tank where he could make a run over at PFL and hopefully win $1 million. I
think he's a lock for fucking that belt over there, dude. There are some Russian savages over there that are just completely unknown guys. Mm-hmm. They have completely unknown guys that no one's never heard their name before, but they're complete savages, and they are world talent, like world class talents. They just don't have any star power, unfortunately. But I do think he is a sure in for that lightweight belt. We will see. Unfortunately, I'm glad he's gone because I did not see him doing anything in the UFC anymore. Yeah. I mean, his skill set is just a little bit on the decline, and he's been through so many fucking wars. Man.
His last fight was Morano. And
he didn't look good until the third. I felt
he didn't look bad, but he did not look good either. He didn't look like the
world beater
Anthony
used to be.
Pettis that we knew. So
yeah, but I think he's a sure win for PFL. So congratulations to him. He probably just won $1 million. Yeah, if they can get started. They didn't fight this year. No PFL fights this last year. So
are you serious?
Yeah. Well, apparently they're gonna get started 2021. Wow. So who knows? Who knows?
All year.
They didn't have any fights all year. Dude, you remember? I mean, Rona fucked everyone. Damn. Other than UFC Bellator, there was nobody. Ryzen, I think ONE FC was putting fights on too. Yeah. Like, that was it. Nobody, no local fucking fights anymore. Sucks, man. If you're a local fighter.
Local fighters, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, it's because they're just, they got the shit
I was
end of
going
the
to local fights. Like here, I mean, I'm not saying every week or anything, but once every couple months, I'd go to a local event, and it's like nothing now, nothing. And it does, man. It just sucks. It sucks for everyone. It sucks for the sport. Sucks for people. Don't get me going.
I guess we could shout out them we are here. It's the shout outs.
All right, yeah. Shout out to all the local fighters out there trying to find fights, trying to do whatever you can to compete.
Working 2 jobs just to make your bills and still training every day.
I mean, fuck, it's hard enough to just be a fighter. I don't even know how you guys do that to begin with. You know, the training, the discipline that it takes. And then on top of that, not being able to go train at gyms, not being able to put food on the table for your family because, you know, of the shutdowns and everything. And then, you know, trying to find fights, trying to make a living as a fighter is really hard to do. So shout out to all the local fighters for sure. And all those guys on the up and up. Just keep going, keep grinding at it.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Because we'll be watching.
Yep. My shout out every week, Mason, goes to a YouTube commenter. Guys, so go leave a comment on our videos, whether it's a full length episode or it's a clip of the show, whether it's a clip of the show from 6 months ago or it's the one I dropped today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. If you make me laugh, make me cringe, make me cry, make me angry, I'm going to shout it out on the show. So go leave a comment.
That's a lot of emotions.
I'm an emotional guy. Va Ming Zong. I need to learn Chinese.
That's pretty good.
I need to learn Chinese.
I
don't know if they use Google Translate or not. You know, they're way smarter than me. Probably knows English very well. At the level that Rose and Zhang are at, I can't believe that fighters would not want a title fight. I think it's about the money more than anything. I think he must have been thinking that Rose didn't want that fight.
Yeah.
Turns out not to be true, my guy. Hopefully that's a fight that we should have talked about in that yawn fucking segment. That's another fight that needs to be made. It has been since March, so 9 months since that last Zhang war. Maybe we're talking International Fight Week for this fight. Maybe we got to wait a little bit longer, but I'm very excited for that fight whenever it is made.
Absolutely. And one more shout out, just to stroke our own egos. There was a comment from KEI, so I'm assuming Kai 804. He says, God, you guys are the best.
Thank you, my guy.
Really nice.
Really appreciate the love. So, Mason, before we end this show, I got to give Teespring at the Church of MMA one more quick shout out. Guys, go get a t-shirt, go get a face mask, go get anything, a cup, a mug. There's so much different stuff.
T-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts. We got a bunch of stuff on.
Bunch of stuff. Mason designed everything himself. So in any purchase you guys make, go straight to the show and to approve the production, and it is much appreciated.
Absolutely.
All right. Mason, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at the Church of MMA. Go hit us up, guys. If you aren't following us, make sure you go and do it. And make sure we're dropping a second episode this next week, award show. See that as well.
Yeah, and to reiterate what Tabor just said, go check out our award show dropping tomorrow or the next day. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe, like the videos, comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. This is the Church of MMA podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That is Tabor Cragen. And until next time,
peace.